So when we were younger, we lived aboard a sailboat for 3.5 years, and we traveled from southern Georgian Bay in our home port of Thornbury all the way to Venezuela and back. And we've never shied away from doing something different. And prior to that, you know, we lived out west of ski bums for a year, and you know, we always just try to keep things interesting. So during the pandemic, we sort of had a chance to reevaluate our lives and what we wanted out of life. So we jumped in and we bought a property in New Brunswick, sight unseen, and here we are.
Started a new adventure.
We started a new adventure. Yeah. And that's led us to renting 2 off-grid cabins called the Hideaway. Our whole property is called the Hideaway. It has led to this, the sawmill, and it's just opened up a whole different world that we didn't really expect, but at the same time, I think that's what we were looking for, was something to be more self-sufficient, to live more off the land, to have land, to live near fresh water.
Healthy lifestyle.
And yeah, just change it up.
Cool, so here we are at the Black Bear Sawmill, and we're not necessarily a registered business, we just like the Black Bear Sawmill name because we have a lot of black bears in the area and stuff. Yeah, this is kind of where I spend a lot of my time, and milling and such, and of course I built this structure, you know, Kylie and I built this last year on our own throughout the winter months to house the Woodland Mills 130MAX, and we took the majority of the material and trees from that area over there for good reason, and that is that we're likely going to create another post and beam structure over there to house like the chipper and the new trailer. Woodland Mills is sending us the Multilander trailer, which should be here like tomorrow or the next day, and you know, just all of our goodies and stuff that we use here on the property. So we're getting to build something similar to this again in that new location. Yeah, so the whole process starts again. As far as cabins and stuff are concerned on the property, we do have an Airbnb here, and we call our place the Hideaway. And we are thinking of building another cabin, and of course this lets us build or basically mill our own lumber to do whatever we want to do. But that's kind of on the back burner for now. So I guess a little bit of my background: I've been a carpenter, a builder, home builder, high-end home builder for 24 years, I guess, and had a crew of like 4 to 5 for about 14 years. And anyways, my wife and I are originally from Ontario in the Georgian Bay area, and then we moved out here and just kind of wanted a bit of a, you know, a reboot, I guess, or a new adventure, let's call it. I do still build. I took 2 years, or about 1 year and 8 months off to get our property under control and our highway cabins ready and up for rental and that sort of thing. We're fortunate that we have a lot of hardwood and a lot of softwood. We have a lot of hemlocks, some pine, a lot of spruce and fir, the classic sort of maples and birch, of course, and a few nice oaks. The oaks are pretty scarce around here, but we do happen to have a lot of beautiful oaks down by the water. So right now, as far as drying lumber, we basically just go completely air dried. This year has been extremely dry, so we don't necessarily want it to dry too quickly. But this is also, you know, kind of a new thing for me too. I'm just figuring it as we go. But for instance, we basically took down a beautiful birch tree, and I had intended to cut it all up for firewood. But then the first sort of 20 odd feet of it was a decent diameter, and I thought, well, Kylie and I decided we're gonna just put it through the mill and see what we get. So that's basically what we have going on right here. So this is kind of my sort of simplified drying technique right now, which is basically air dried. So what we're doing is flipping this I think we flipped it twice, possibly 3 times if I remember correctly. So we'll just move it, sticker it, and it's actually drying quite flat. Like, it's super dry. I haven't probed it to see what the moisture content is, but I also dropped it before the spring kind of, you know, budding and everything. So it wasn't a midwinter drop by any means, but it's it's fairly dry as far as I'm concerned, and it's actually stayed very stable. Like nothing's taken off, nothing's gone like kind of wild and cupped. But there's some big logs here. Like some of these are some big boards here. Like some of these are 20 to 21 inches in width, and yeah, like some beautiful grain in there. And they're staying flat, like I've said. So I think the kiln situation's probably gonna accelerate the process, but for now this is working. So a little bit of insight on this particular structure. I mean, I kind of figured out what was going to work pretty quickly. I mean, you can look online and see what other people have done, but I mean, it made sense to me to max out the opening to accommodate without moving the log ahead. I can get like 16 foot 4 or 5 or whatever pretty easily out of it. So therefore I decided to basically do a half lap in the middle of the beam up there and create a full 20 foot wide opening to bring the tractor in, drop a log down, and it's like perfect. I don't have to worry about banging into the posts or anything. The structure is 33 feet long and it's 14 feet wide, and the rafters are 16 and a half feet long. 16 foot 4 long. So it basically, like I said, maxed out the cutting capacity of this guy to mill these rafters. They're 4 by 8 and they're varying in length and widths and stuff, because you know I get into some bark sections and rough or waney edges, and I don't really care if they're all the same dimensions. I kind of wanted a little bit more of a rustic look in here, but it is all hemlock, and with the exception of maybe 2 or 3 spruce boards, that we decided to use just the raw sort of live edge stuff for the strapping before the steel went on. But it's a pretty basic structure. I mean, I was able to build this alone pretty well, I would say relatively easily. There were some times when I'm like, oh my goodness, what am I doing? But it all came together nice. But it's typical post and beam. It's all bolted. It's not traditional like mortise and tenon and all that. I mean, I just needed to get it done, so I decided to just bolt everything together. So I used large lags and dipped them in oil, and they slide in there pretty good. And this structure is actually very, very solid. Like it's you walk up there and it does not wiggle at all. Super, super strong. So it looks a bit of a mess right now, but this was sort of semi-cleared by the previous owner of the property. But we were able to basically everything I took down, send all the tops and the limbs through the chipper and kind of get rid of the mess. And as much as it's nice to burn stuff, it's not always feasible, especially this year in New Brunswick. We've had such a dry season with, you know, fire risk and stuff is a problem. So I'm not gonna roll the dice and, you know, try and burn a bunch of stuff. But I will get an excavator in here pretty soon and sort of haul these stumps, dig a big hole and bury everything and level it. And that area right there is basically where our next building will go. Yeah, there was also some, you know, nice sized trees, and pretty much everything that came out of here went into the wood and the sawmill structure. And I will also mention that we're also fortunate because when we mill stuff, there's absolutely zero waste, other than, well, we mulch stuff and just let that go back into the ground through the chipper. But the cool thing is for us is we have 5 wood stoves on the property. So each guest cabin has a wood stove, our main house has a wood stove, the shop has a wood stove. There's a crazy old wood stove here that we will light from time to time just to warm up hands in the winter. So we have the need for a lot of firewood, and all the tops, when you're squaring up a log, everything gets chopped into 16-18 inch pieces and stacked and dried, and it all gets used. Nothing is going to waste, which is actually kind of cool. So just to sort of touch base on the our newest purchase, which is the Multilander trailer, the logging trailer. One of the reasons that I wanted that, well, there's a number of reasons for it, and the first one is there's a lot of large logging trailers out there. I mean, they're fairly costly, but that's all they do is haul logs. So I don't need that all the time. So the Multilander trailer made a lot of sense that it's multi-purpose. You can use it for dumping materials like firewood or chips or whatever, or you can fold the sides down, haul a log on. But going back to what I was mentioning earlier about sort of selective harvest on our property, there's a lot of space or a lot of areas where I can't get a tractor. I'm not gonna like slash down trees so that I can get a tractor in, but it's realistic to get the side-by-side in with the Multilander trailer behind it, and I can get to those logs and put them on the trailer and get them out of there without, you know, not running a skidder or a tractor or making a great big mess. So I think the Multilander trailer is going to be really great for getting into those sort of like back 40 spots on our property without, you know, making a big mess.
That's awesome.
So one of the products from the mills that we really like is the chipper, and all the tops and limbs and everything that you know, we end up with when we knock down a tree gets chipped up, and we try to basically use it wherever we can, and well, we put it pretty much everywhere.
It's such a nice aesthetic look. Like, it just is such a beautiful entrance to our trails. So this is the entrance to the mill loop. Obviously, the mill's right there. So,
and it smells awesome too when you chip stuff. There's no denying the fact that there's no end to the work here. It's like every time we come up the laneway, there's more and more work. But it's okay. We just kind of, well, for a while we were tackling way too much at a time, but now it's under control, and we're renting the cabins and things are going good, and we have some downtime and some time to enjoy it and kind of reflect on what we're actually doing here, instead of constantly thinking about, okay, we have to be up early and we have to get moving and we have to do this and we have to do that. It's actually, it's a nice place right now. It's a good feel. It's a very good feel right now.
one thing we wish we had have done first was get the mill, because we fully renovated our cabin and the 2 guest cabins. So having the mill would have really been helpful during that time. But since we've gotten it, we've built the mill house, and we've got so many projects that we want to do. It's just now trying to find the time to do it.
It was a bit of cart before horse for sure, but I think actually Bailey, you and I were talking earlier about sort of the social media aspect of it, which has, you know, been focused more on the hideaway, and that's Kylie's got that under control. She does a great job. But we've been asked so many times, why didn't you start a YouTube channel when you did this, like a whole homestead right from start to finish? And yes, I think that would have been amazing. However, I do question how far would we be at this point in time if we were constantly worried about building and videoing it and editing it. And you know, there's only 2 of us here. There's been no other trades down this laneway to help us do what we've done. And you know, right from water, electrical, setting up all the solar, you know, 4 buildings all completely independently run off grid, like all that stuff we've done on our own, and it's valuable information for people who are like-minded, who potentially would love to do something like this, but we just felt like we couldn't do it. Like what we've done in 2 years would have likely taken us 5 years if we were constantly worried about everything. I mean, maybe I'm wrong on that, but anyways, that's why we didn't do a YouTube channel.
And how did you guys find out about Woodland Mills? Like, there's so many sawmill companies out there. What drew you to, or how did you pick Woodland Mills?
We have the same logo color. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, everything is very color coded here. Black.
I think it really comes down to reviews.
Yeah.
We watched some video of Josh and Neil, and you could instantly tell the passion there on the product that they were creating, and standing behind it. It just felt right. I don't know how
Canadian
to explain
company.
it. Yeah.
And yeah, going back to what Kylie said with Josh and Neil, I mean, Josh does a lot of videos, and he's so well spoken and kind of hits every aspect of all of the products very well,
And
I
answers
just
any questions.
yeah, fantastic, well done. Like that's like you're selling your product properly, like by. And not everybody's super keen on reading about stuff, but when you have all the information online there with his YouTube channels and stuff, and the Woodland Mills info, that was perfect. Yeah.
We also dealt with Melissa, and she has been amazing. She really kind of like stood up for us and kind of took a chance on us and being ambassadors, and that was super appreciative because I mean that just doesn't happen with small guys. You need to have like 1 million followers for anybody to even look at you. So that was really cool that she kind of took a chance on us, and therefore Neil and Josh did too. So
No, we're very fortunate there. That worked out amazing.
yeah.